really soon we're going to have the new release of the next evolution box, right, from Marvel Champions, the card game. We'll start having the new hero packs come out, and I thought it'd be fun to do one last pre-review video, kind of covering everything, kind of my thoughts and feelings before it comes out. So really quick, understand, I do not have anything yet. I haven't looked at the spoilers or the leaks or anything like that. Well, I looked at the leaks Fantasy Flight Games did, right? But I didn't look at any of the official or unofficial spoilers, things that were released early or anything like that. I don't have access to any of that. I haven't looked at any of that. What I want to do is just rank from worst to best what I think is going to be my favorite heroes for this cycle, right? So the heroes that are least interesting all the way to the most interesting, and give my thoughts about them and talk a little bit about them because it's been a little while since we talked about them and I've had some more time to think about them. So let's dive in and start off with my least, or expected, I should say, my expected least favorite hero. All right, so my least interested, or what I think I'm going to be least excited about for this next cycle, the least interesting one to me is Cable. I think Cable is super straightforward in how he's going to play. I think he's going to be super straightforward in how he's going to operate. I think he's going to be way too good. Honestly, I think that's what it's going to be. So we're not going to break down his kit. We already did a video on that. But generally speaking, right, where you can include player side schemes from any aspect in your deck, where you can have as many side schemes as we want. So if you add them all up right now, I think we're around 10 side schemes, which is kind of nuts. Even if you don't put all 10 in, that's fine. Let's just say you put 5 in, right? Let's say that's fine. He's still gonna be strong. He's gonna be really strong. So for example, with Cable, the first thing you want to do is search your, for setup, search your deck and discard pile for a player's side scheme and put it into play, right? So we get to put that into play. We're going to do Techno Virus Purge every single time. Now it has 5 threat, sure. So we can thwart 2, but more importantly, when we flip up, we can use Lay Down the Law to remove 3, right? We don't have to remove 4, but just remove 3, or for Justice, when we want to remove 3. We could do the other 2. After doing this, we will become a 1/1/1 or plus 1/1/1 hero, so it'll be a 3/3/3 stat line, plus we get to ready up. So we can mulligan really hard for 4 Justice or Lay Down the Law, and then we become a 3/3/3 hero right out of the gate. And that's really strong. That's really strong. I've made the argument before that a lot of people sleep on Phoenix. I think that Phoenix is better than people give her credit for in true solo, because 3 thwart to control the board state until you're ready to start swinging for 3. Like, that's massive. That's absolutely huge, and I think people underestimate that. A 2/2/2 stat line has always been considered like good. Now make it 50% better, right? Like that's nuts, and you can easily do that turn 1. That's not going to be that hard to do. And then on top of that, let's say you got 5, side schemes in the victory display, right? And now you're cycling through his big attack cards faster. So with 5 in there, this can become a 3 for 11 attack card, right? Because you deal 6 damage to the enemy, deal 1 additional damage for each side scheme in the victory display. It's 3 for 11. We should be able to cycle in pretty quickly. This is going to be a 2 for 3 plus 5 more is 2 for 8 threat management, right? That's nuts. I mean, that's absolutely kind of insane. I don't know. I don't know. That just, it seems really, really strong. And that's even including like the strong side schemes that have been shown off, which also, by the way, with Gray Malkin, now that we have a resource generator, so we can put that card, or we can't put that card, but you can exhaust this to generate a science resource, and after side schemes to feed, you get to ready it up, so you can time it where you get 2 resource generators basically per round, or a phase, which is really good. And then, okay, superpower training. Each player may discard their deck or search their deck and discard pile for an identity-specific upgrade and put it into play. So we have his cards. Where is it? So like Forced Amnesia if we wanted to, but he also has, where is it? There we go. Plasma Rifle, which is a pretty solid card, or Telekinetic Force Field, which is really good because we can just prevent all the damage, and we can put that card in basically twice for free. We can have Build Support, which, oh, and by the way, you only need 3 threat removal, which is just exhausting ourselves. And then we clear it, and then we get to ready up, right? Like, that's what's going to make Cable so good, is he can clear this out, get his free card in, and then he readies himself up. That's it. That's all it's going to happen. Build Support, same exact thing. 1 cost, 3 threats. So we just exhaust, and we get to ready up. Each player may search their deck and discard pile for a support with a cost of 3 or less and put into play. That's like Helicarrier, right? Helicarrier can just come on in, and it's super simple, and we can get these cards in for easy and cheap. I mean, there's going to be such easy ways to get him going, and his engine is going to be so strong. And again, if you maxed out Telekinetic Blast, I mean, we're looking at a card that can one-shot most villains. I mean, just straight up, it will be able to, because you could just keep doing so many and cycle so quickly through your cards to get Telekinetic Blast again. Again, if your deck is mostly side schemes, like player side schemes. So let's say you have a 40 card deck, 25 are ones that you can actually use. Let's just say 10 of them are personal side schemes, roughly. I mean, we're using rough math here. I mean, we only got to go through a handful of cards to get back to Telekinetic Blast. It's not going to take that long to do. So anyway, I think he's going to be really strong. I think he's going to be kind of way too strong. And I think he's going to be very simple in the way he works. I think this pattern that I've kind of described is going to be what makes him so strong and good. And we haven't even seen all the player size schemes, most likely. I'm assuming there's going to be more of them. So there's going to be even more combos you can do with them. And I know people will have fun with that. And I think it'll be interesting for a bit of time. But in the long run, I just don't see him being interesting in the long run. So anyway, he is the hero I am least excited for this cycle. All right, the next one on the list, this would be what, number 5, I guess? The fifth least excited one is X23. This is when I did the preview for this, the hero I still think she's going to be the worst of the bunch. Now, I also want to stress, because I didn't say this for Cable, and I probably should have, that Cable I don't think will be bad. Obviously, I think it'll be really, really good. I don't think any of these heroes are going to be like necessarily bad or not fun. But I think X23 is the weakest one out of all of them. So basically her setup allows her to put her claws into play. It's nice that they figured this out, from Wolverine. And then you can either shuffle the Honey Badger ally or Sisterly Bond event into your discard pile, from your discard pile into your deck, and then you get to draw 1 card, which could be useful. And then X23, after she takes any amount of damage, you get to ready her up a limit once per phase. And this is kind of her whole mechanic that you have going on, right? She takes some damage, and now she can get +2 attack, so she's swinging for 3. We talked about how good swinging for 3 was just a second ago. The problem is you have to lose 1/5 of your life, your starting life, in order to just swing for 3 damage versus Cable, who can just do that. Now, you can make the argument with Claw Master until the end of the round, you get +2 attack, and her attacks gain overkill when Honey Badger is in play. Okay, so she goes from 3 to 5 now, and if she takes some damage, she can do 5 twice. Which, yeah, 10 damage for taking 2 damage is pretty strong and is pretty good. And you can make a good argument there. And then if you do it with Honey Badger, after Honey Badger takes any amount of damage, ready up X23 could be interesting. She only has 2 life though, so you gotta play around with that, and you gotta figure out what you're doing there. But that's fine. Regenerative life or regenerative longevity. Sorry. Regenerative longevity allows you to heal a total of 4 damage from your identity and Honey Badger. Okay, interesting enough. When Honey Badger attacks or thwarts, add X23's matching power. Right, a lot of these cards combo well, which I think could be actually interesting with her. And then Puncture Wound is fine. I don't love it, but I think it's fine. Grim Resolve. You take a damage to generate a resource. It's not terrible, but it's not great, but it's not terrible. This is kind of very Venom-esque that you could do, but you have to get the resource out there first, or get the upgrade out there first. After you play an X23 card, including this one, you get to heal 1 damage. Now, this isn't terrible, but the problem is that's not even countering her claws, right? So doing the claws, you're healing some of it back. If you're using Grim Resolve, like that evens out a little bit, but not a ton. And then Sisterhood, exhaust Sisterhood and discard an X23 card from your hand. Search your deck and discard pile for Honey Badger and add her to your hand. From what we saw in this initial setup, because I don't think they revealed any more cards for her, right? I don't think so, or at least they haven't shown it. They really want you to do this weird hybrid of a Voltron build with Honey Badger and like a ready up thing and taking damage thing. Like it feels like X23 is trying to do several different things okay. And I don't know how that works in practice. She might end up being one of my bigger surprises, that she actually works great, because once you start getting the engine going, it's really fun and really cool. And that could be the case. I could see her moving on up the list pretty fast. But I still worry that there's going to be a little too much of everything you have going on, right? That's my biggest worry, is what I should really say, is that you're going to have to focus on Honey Badger. You're going to have to worry about keeping her life up, and you're going to have to worry about getting the right cards. And if you can time it so you get them all at the same exact time, that's aces then, right? That's good. But if you don't have that, then I feel like she's just going to kind of flounder, and okay, yeah, I could do 6 damage, maybe if I get to ready up from taking damage, but I had to take 3 damage basically to do the ready up. So like realistically, I'm just trading off 2 damage or dealing myself 2 damage to deal 4 damage outwardly. It's just weird, right? It's really weird. I feel like until we get to see her in hand, she is my biggest question mark hero right now, of just how she's going to work. I feel like really early game is going to be kind of all over the place, especially with taking damage. You're going to have to kind of just like, keep the board state somewhat level with 2 threat, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And then hopefully you get the right cards when you need them. But we also haven't seen a lot of her kit, right? We don't know her thwart cards. Maybe her thwart cards are pretty good. We haven't seen some other stuff that she may have going on. So I'm willing to give her the benefit of doubt that there's something big could happen here. But from what we see, it seems like really weird trade-offs in the beginning that, okay, when she's built out and her engine works, sure, she swings a ton, but I might be dead by then. So I don't know. That's kind of my biggest worry with X23, but there is a lot of potential upside. I will say that with her. All right, I've had more time to think about Deadpool, think about what I like about him, what I don't like about him, because I'm kind of iffy about him, to be honest. And I've kind of come to the conclusion so far from what we've seen is that he will be a very good rush hero. He will be Star-Lord-esque and be very, very strong at rushing. And that's it. And he's going to fall into this weird hole for me where, yeah, okay, when I want to rush with somebody and I can use a card like Maximum Effort, right, where I can take any amount of damage up to your main hit points and deal an equal amount to the enemy, that's going to be crazy strong. And then if I can, do that with this card is Fire and deal X damage to an enemy, X is the amount of damage you have sustained, that's a pretty dope card, right? Those are 2 really strong cards back to back, especially if I put like an Endurance on Deadpool or anything else that might give him additional life. This stuff can be pretty interesting, right? Montage can be all right, I guess, but I'm not going to want acceleration tokens on the main scheme. Like that's still my biggest fear with him. So I'm not going to be playing with his like chief mechanic, with his cheap mechanic of taking acceleration tokens. Like I don't think that's going to be the way I play him solo. I don't think it makes sense to play him that way solo. I think the biggest thing is going to be I'm just going to take damage and hopefully heal up, or take damage, get knocked out, so I go down to this form and then I can flip up next turn. Right? Like I almost see like that's going to be the way I approach it, especially if I can discard a card from your hand to search for a Deadpool event and add it to your hand. Like this is going to be strong in the sense of like, okay, maximum effort in this card on Fire I can get pretty quickly. I think that's how I'm going to play him. I think that's the best way to play him realistically, not this whole idea of using as many acceleration tokens out there. It Ain't Over and Cable and Montage, maybe Arm to the Teeth, I actually don't mind. Deadpool's Katana, I think, will be fine. All these cards essentially, well, those 3 especially, and Exhausting Personality, like I just don't see those being cards I ever play. Like realistically, I don't see how I play them. I don't see where they would make sense in a solo game because again, you don't want acceleration icons. You want to clear those out, generally speaking, and they get those pretty early on. I don't know how that works out unless the only situation where that can happen is if you're making like your very final push. Like this is it. And we do have Cable out there. And there is a way to get 2 acceleration tokens out there, right? Exhausting Personality and somehow another way. I don't know what it'd be right yet. And then now Cable's swinging for like 4 instead. And maybe we have ready ups or something. I don't know. That would be the one way I could see it happening, right? That's the one way I could see it going. But I don't know. Past that, it's to be honest, it's tough. It's really tough for me to see. I've tried to talk to other people and work with other people, like how does it work for solo, and some people have some ideas that you can make it work, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I'll just be completely honest. I don't see it. So anyway, I think Deadpool will be okay, but I think I'm going to be basically using him as a rush hero. All right, Angel is the hero that's probably grown on me the most since his announcement. When he first came out, I kind of got worried once again with Angel of Death, Archangel, with his whole acceleration icon. We just talked about how I don't want these in general. And the more and more I think about the possibilities of Angel, I think the more I get excited. And I could actually see Angel rising a bit, but I do think my number 1 and number 2 heroes are very strong. But Angel, I definitely see being in the top half. Like I said, the more I think about him, the more I like the idea of Angel. So a 6 hand size, 12 hit points is pretty strong. You get to just heal one with him on this side, which I think is pretty interesting that they're doing that. And then Angel card himself, 2/1/2. After you play an aerial event, draw 1 card. And I do like aerial cards in general, so I think it'll be fun as they continue to expand upon this. And Archangel, right? Archangel. After you play an aerial event. Deal damage to an enemy equal to the event's printed cost, right? Obviously, people start thinking about die bomb and whatnot, but I'm sure there's other things they'll be able to do, which should be interesting. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then adaptive plumage. If you are Archangel, deal 4 damage to an enemy and stun it, right? He's gonna have a lot of stuff going on, and I think I like this idea more of depending on which side you are, your card changes what you do. And this mechanic is slowly growing on me that, like, yeah, I want to mess around with this. That if you're just Angel, you get to do 3 threat and confuse the enemy, right? So I like the idea of being able to mess around with different sides, assuming that we could just like flip when we want. I think that's what they said you could do. The razor dive thing is pretty weak for attack, but getting overkill and piercing isn't too bad. But again, it's an aerial event, so if we're on Archangel's side, we would deal 3 extra damage. So it'd be a 3 for 9 card. So once you start seeing that type of stuff work together, I think it does get more interesting, I would say. And then if you're on this side, regular Angel side, you get to draw an extra card, which is pretty cool. I'm happy that this form is still 5 hand size, which is nice. I don't know. And then Avian Anatomy, after you spend this card to play an aerial event, return that event to your hand after resolving its effects. So the idea of being able to do Razor Dive possibly twice could be pretty cool, especially with the power of flight. You double the number of resources this card generates for playing an aerial event. Like, there is going to be some cool things I think you can do with him, which I think will be neat. I don't see myself playing him protection. I don't think he's just going to make sense in that aspect. But some other things, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, over time, I think Angel has grown on me a bit more. I could see Angel possibly taking number 2, depending on how number 2 falters or maybe doesn't falter. But yeah, Angel's really grown on me. I think Angel's gonna be really solid and a lot more fun than I gave him credit for the first time around. I think he's gonna have some interesting things going on that are more straightforward than like what X-23 did, and more intuitive than X-23, right? Like X-23 might not always be intuitive in the sense of, do I really want to take this damage or not, or whatever. This is gonna be, I don't know, more straightforward is the right word, but just more interesting, I guess. More interesting and less punishing, right? So, yeah. Angel is going to be my number 3. All right, my number 2 is Psylocke. And Psylocke has some of the bigger question marks for me because I want to see how she's actually going to work out. I think she could be really, really strong, or it could be kind of this weird flipping game where you get caught off guard a few times, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit weird. But anyway, so Betsy basically states that you put your 2 Psy energy upgrades into play, Psy knives face up. So I'm assuming that you get 2 of these, right? 2 Psy knives, excuse me. And then they flip over to Psy katanas. So you get 2 of these in there. Psylocke would get +1 thwart, and then you can generate a mental resource with this, and you may flip this card. And this one allows you to get +1 attack, and then exhaust Psy Katana to generate a fist resource, and then you may flip this card, right? So it's kind of interesting mechanics there with the flipping and exhaust. Like, I like that idea. When you use one of Psylocke's basic powers, you can flip one of your Psy energy upgrades. Okay, her 1/1/2 stat line is obviously weak, but you can modify it with Psy knife and Psy katana, which is pretty cool. Putting Angel into play, I think, is fine. And then with the cards that interact here, like Flurry of Blades, 3 cost attacking event, deal 2 damage to enemy. For each side knife you control, choose an enemy and confuse it, or each side katana you control, you get to deal 2 damage to the enemy. So if you have 2 katanas, right, that'd be 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 4, yeah, it'd be 3 for 6, being able to deal damage that way. Or if you have the side knife, you get to confuse the enemy, right? Or choose an enemy and confuse it, which I think could be interesting. Again, mental detection, remove 1 threat from a scheme. For each side knife you control, remove 2 additional threat from the scheme. For each side katana you control, draw 1 card, which is pretty interesting. A lot of these cards, I think there's just a lot of interesting mechanics they have going on. So after Psylocke thwarts, discard this card to just confuse an enemy, which is really cool, really strong. After Psylocke attacks, discard this to ready each weapon upgrade you control, which you could ready up these cards, right, to use them as resources again. Like, there's some really interesting things that could happen here. I get a little worried with her that she won't be, like, it won't be as smooth as I think it will, right? Even though you get to start off with these knives and katanas into play, or the knives really, but you get to start off with these cards into play. I don't know how easy it will be to transition between the two, how easy it's going to be to make it work with your different attacks and status control stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion that you can do. This is great until you run into like steady and stalwart. So I don't know if that's going to be a huge problem or if there's ways to get around it. And again, we really haven't seen much of her kit. unfortunately. Because we only saw she has 17 cards, and we saw one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, like 8 of them, which is weird. It's a little less than usual, so there's a lot more possibility of with her out there of what it could be. So, anyway, if the rest of her cards are a bunch of duds, then she's probably gonna drop down the list pretty fast. But I like the idea of Psylocke. I think she could be fun, but she is another question mark. I could easily see her dropping down the list and then Angel rising on the same list. So Angel might end up being my number 2, and Psylocke dropping down like 3, maybe 4. I don't know. Or X-23 could like shoot up. Who knows? That's what's kind of fun about this and a lot of speculation. But as far as my number 1, I think I'm pretty certain she's going to stay my number 1. When Scarlet Witch was first announced and we first saw what she was doing and we got the pack in hand, it was probably the most excited I've been for Marvel Champions, like ever. I thought the way that she could manipulate the encounter deck, I thought was really cool. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really neat. I'm getting those same vibes from Domino, and I really like it. I really like this idea of discarding from the top of your deck and counting wild resources or any resource, doesn't really matter. I like this mechanic. I think this is cool. I think it's going to lead to interesting choices that you make throughout the game, right? Because you're probably going to be going through your deck a lot faster than you normally would, and you're going to get extra bad cards. But you might want those things because you'll get all these extra resources, all these extra benefits. I think that trade-off is what makes Marvel Champions so fun and so interesting. And I think this is what Domino is just going to be doing nonstop. And I think it's going to be so cool. I'm really excited for Domino. So on her alter ego side is Nina. Choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top card of your discard pile, which is nice. And Domino is a 1-2-3 stat line. When counting resources on cards discarded from the top of your deck, count each printed wild resource twice. And choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top card of your deck for this. I like manipulating the deck like that. I think that could be a lot of fun, really cool. The big thing is just creating a deck that's just all wild resources. I think with the wild resources, besides her triple, right? Her triple resource card. And after this gets discarded from the top of your deck, you just shuffle it back in, which is bonkers. It's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be so much fun. I truly believe that I'm not gonna be putting doubles into her deck because it's not gonna be really a reason. I'm gonna mostly do wild resources. Right? I'll just do the wild resources on things. I think as any aspect, she's gonna make a lot of sense and be really good. I think the whole good workout where you deal 4 damage to enemy and then you discard a card from the top of your deck for each resource icon. So it's a 2 for 6 attack, possibly 2 for 7, which you get to shuffle this jackpot card right back in, right? Luck be a lady, you get jackpot, and you get to when you discard this, and you get to heal 2 from a character, remove 2 threat, and deal 3 damage for 1 cost event, and then again get to shuffle that card back in. Domino's Pistols, you get to exhaust and discard a top card from your deck, deal 1 damage to the enemy for each resource icon discarded this way. The attack gains range, which I think will be good, which is cool to see, right? Again, it should be you exhaust this to deal 2 damage essentially. Probability field, when you use a basic power, discard a top card of your deck, you get +1 of that power for each icon on that card discard this way. So again, she has 2 attacks, so you should be swinging for 4 with your wild resources. Excuse me. There's just, I feel like so much you can do with this, and this doesn't even include like her whole posse thing she has going on. So you exhaust Dimeback, deal 1 damage to her, discard a top card of your deck, deal 1 damage to each enemy for each resource icon discard this way. Again, she can now Dimeback clear out a bunch of minions, like low, easy minions who deal a lot of damage everywhere for dealing 1 damage to her. I think that's really cool and really interesting. Pip the Pug, exhaust Pip to put 1 Domino or Posse card from your discard pile back into your deck, right? Cycling them back through. And then Outlaw is a Posse card, comes in with Toughness. When Outlaw attacks, discard the top card of your deck. Outlaw gets +1 for this attack for each resource icon. So she can be swinging for 3 or possibly 4 as just an ally. White Fox, after White Fox is discarded from the top of your deck, put her into play under your control, right? So this might be the one time where we don't put a wild resource in, I don't know. Or you just do the Posse event. Play only if you control at least 3 characters with the Posse trait. Heal 1 damage from each Posse character and ready them. So not only do we get to heal up and ready Domino, Diamondback, and Outlaw, it's a wild resource on top. But like, it's just, the combinations of what she can do, I think, are nuts. And while I'm going to be mostly focusing on discarding cards, I can supplement what she's doing with other allies, right? It's not that I have to do both things simultaneously. It's that I can focus on just flipping cards over, doing my thing with Domino, and then, oh, I did get Outlaw. Oh, I did get Diamondback, right? Let's start messing around with them. Let's start doing some interesting things with them. I think that's really cool and really fascinating. And then we also saw Lucky Break, which is when you reveal an encounter card, discard Lucky Break, cancel its effects of that card and discard it, reveal another card from the encounter deck. Could be good, right? Especially with some really bad cards that are out there. Painted Lady. After you discard a card from the top of your deck, attach that card face down to here. So if you're discarding some of your attack cards that you want to save up, then you can exhaust the Painted Lady on your alter ego side to add one card attached to you in your hand, which is good, right? We're going to save that like huge attack card for later on. We can get back into our hand, which I think is really, really good. And then Lucky and Good, one cost upgrade. When a boost card is turned face up during an attack against you, exhaust Lucky and Good, cancel that boost icon and boost ability, give the attacking enemy another boost card for this attack. I know I was a little down on this, but a lot of people are talking about this with like the Venom Goblin cards. Yeah, there's some good cards to cancel on. So it's just, I think she's going to be doing so many interesting and cool mechanics. And again, I feel like where does she even go? I lost her. There we go. I feel like, again, it's when we compare it to X23, where I feel like X23, you're going to have to balance several things simultaneously at once. And that's why I'm a little down on her. I think Domino is, you're just focusing on Domino. And if you can get out Diamondback and you can get out, who is it, Outlaw, and possibly anyone else, like, I think that just makes her more interesting. I think that makes it more dynamic, and it doesn't feel like a necessity to get those posse cards out, right? It just feels like it's a benefit versus X23. So anyway, Domino, I am hyped for. I don't think I've been this hyped for a hero, like I said, since Scarlet Witch. I think this is the biggest hype I've ever had, right there with it. Now we'll see when she actually comes out. Who knows? Hopefully it's as good as I think it will be. But as of right now, I'm really excited for her. All right, so that's my hype list, what I'm excited for, whatever you want to call it, from least to most. Overall, I think the heroes of the cycle look pretty good. They look a little strong. That's my only like criticism so far from what I've seen. Now, when we actually get them in hand, we'll see what they're actually like, which it may be a bit different than I think. Whatever, doesn't matter. But I think right now I'm very excited for even for Cable, right? Who he's my least excited hero. I think even for him, I'm a little bit excited for him, right? I am excited to mess around with his player size schemes. I am excited for what he could possibly do. Same goes for X23, right? I think she'll be a little wonky. I think it'll be a little weird to make her work sometimes. I'm still excited for the possibility. I'm still excited for what she can be. And then moving forward for everyone else, I'm excited for what it can be and what the future holds for them. So for this cycle for heroes, I think this is going to be a overall, from what we're looking at, probably a top 3 hero cycle for me personally. But I want to hear from you as well. What do you think about the heroes so far? Who are you the most excited for? Who are you the least excited for? And let me know down in the comments. It'd be kind of interesting to see how other people are thinking about them and whatnot. And if you haven't yet, make sure you like and subscribe. All that fun stuff. It really helps with the channel. And I will see you all next time when we start playing these heroes, which I'm ready for. I'm ready for some new heroes to start playing. So I'll see you all next time.